The purpose of this video is to demonstrate the use of a retirement calculator that is freely available online. The use of the calculator will allow us to see whether we have enough money to retire comfortably. So to begin, please go and open up a browser and then type in bankrate.com. And once you've reached the Bankrate website, go ahead and click on Retirement and then Retirement Calculators. Once you're in the Retirement Calculator Center, you are scrolling down to Retirement Planner. Now this planner will enable you to see what level of savings you will need to make for retirement in order to live comfortably for the number of years in which you intend to be in retirement. You may notice that this calculator is already pre-populated. However, what I'm going to do is just remove the information that is here to demonstrate how to input everything as we go through. You can see the colors are changing to yellow because this information is of course needed to do the calculation. So let's just say that you are approximately 20 years old and you estimate that your age of retirement will be 65. At this time, your annual household income is perhaps not very high, but you are trying to determine what exactly is needed in order to begin to save for retirement. So let's just say that you have an annual income of 25,000 at this time. For your annual retirement savings, let's say that you are trying to save about 7% of your salary. You do not at this time have current retirement savings. You are possibly expecting your income to increase by about 5% per year. And the amount of your income required at retirement, what this means is they're asking you, do you think you'll need 100% of your current income? Do you think you'll need 110% or some other amount? A reasonable percentage might be 90%, although you are in retirement, you will still probably have plans and needs, so you may not want to go too low, so let's start there. And here you need to estimate how many years you think you will be in retirement for. So let's say you conservatively estimate that you will live for 20 years after the age of 65. And so those are your inputs. Now, the system also indicates here what its assumptions are. It's assuming that your investments will return 7%, meaning you will earn 7% on whatever you are investing. It's just coincidence that this is the same percentage. What this means is that for every dollar you're putting into retirement, they're assuming that before the age of 65 you are going to be earning 7%, so 7 cents. And then after retiring at 65, the assumption is that your money is going to be returning 4%. The reason for this is that as you get closer to retirement, you will likely move your investments into, for instance, bonds, investments that are not as risky. And then an assumption of 3% of inflation is fairly standard. And we also assume not to include Social Security. The reason being that Social Security is really just seen as an additional amount of money that is good to have, but is not necessarily guaranteed depending on the state of the economy. Now, once you've input all your information, you can click on Calculate. And what this reveals then is the results, and it says that unfortunately your retirement savings, given these series of assumptions, will run out at age 70. So you'll have approximately 5 years worth of income to live on. It says that your plan provides in total $968,740 when you retire, so just under $1 million you have in total to live on for 20 years. And it says that if your expenses are 90% of your final year's income of 239.29, remember we assume 3% inflation. So by the time you're 65, the 25,000 that you're earning now is obviously grown. Nothing from Social Security. The result is that unfortunately you are going to run out of money. So this means that, one would have to think about how to reposition all the assumptions or how to change things in order to have enough funds to be able to retire. You can see below here as I'm scrolling that it's giving you all the definitions and all the explanations of the various items that I just input into the system. So that was one example of a 20-year-old planning to retire at 65 with a $25,000 household income. So let's say now that you've graduated with your degree and you have now moved on into the working world, and perhaps your income has increased fairly significantly as a result of your getting a job in your profession. So perhaps now we can say, you're at age 25. For instance, you still plan to retire at age 65. Your income has now increased to $70,000 a year. You have subsequently read that it is recommended to save approximately 10 to 15% of your earnings for retirement. So you've decided that you want to go on the high end, 15%. Perhaps your company even has matching for 401k, which is a retirement plan, so you can take advantage of that as well. Your current retirement savings are sitting at zero. This is a new example, so we'll just assume zero, that you haven't yet started saving, and you have still an expected income increase of 5% a year. Income required at retirement, we'll keep that at 90% and see how the numbers move. Still thinking that you'll live to approximately 85. Now, what's interesting about this, one would think that since your earnings are going up to 70,000, that surely you will have more money in retirement. However, because you are expecting 90% of your earnings every year after retirement, and you only started saving at age 25, it turns out that you will actually run out of money at age 69, which is also a factor of starting 5 years later, right? Because in our previous example, you started at 20, now you start at 25, so you've actually lost 5 years of the benefits of compounding. So, what to do? Right? What to do to try and stretch this? If you're in this position, how do you make this work for you? Well, the first thing that you could likely do is, of course, say, well, let me save some more money. So I'm going to try to increase this even as high as 20%. Aha, so that gives you actually 9 extra years of money. So already that moves the needle quite substantially. Furthermore, you might say, well, maybe my budget in retirement does not have to be as high as my budget right now. So maybe I'll only need 80%, right? Well, that didn't really move the needle by much. It's kind of gave you 2 extra years, but it does move you closer to, your estimated date of 85 as being when your retirement funds would need to last to. So what else can be done? Well, it's kind of difficult to really move things by much unless you expect to get, very high salary raises. But let's just say that you had already been saving right, for retirement before age 25. And let's just say that you had $20,000 in your savings. So from the time you were 20 to 25, you were able to save $20,000. How does that change things? Well, you get an extra year. So you see that as you move these various inputs around, you can actually begin to build a scenario where you will end up at the appropriate age that you want to, that you estimate you will live until. However, you'll have to see what that means in terms of whether it's actually realistic. For instance, if you say your income increase is not going to be 5%, it's going to be 6%, does that change anything? Well, actually, it makes things a little bit difficult for you, because the fact that your income goes up so much every year and you need 80% of your income actually kind of moves things in the opposite direction, which is strange, right? So when you put that in, you say, well, that doesn't work, so let's keep it at 5% and try to move something else around, right? And say, well, maybe 81 is okay. Maybe I'm comfortable to have my retirement funds end at 81. The last thing that we have not yet attempted to change is, what if we work a few years longer? What if we say we're only going to retire at 68? Aha, there we then arrive at 80, 85. So, you can say, well, I'm going to then, I'll probably have to change this number as well, because I estimate I'll live till 85. But the reality then is that you have a few options. You'll have to live longer, you'll have to invest more money into retirement. You may have to already have some retirement savings. If you don't, that's fine. Just put in whatever you have or don't have. And then you may have to move some of these items around to try and get you to a point that makes sense in terms of when your retirement savings will run out. So, a few takeaways. The earlier you start to save for retirement, the likelier it will be that you'll have enough money in retirement. Also, you want to think very carefully about the percentage of your income that you allocate towards retirement, because the younger you are, the more you allocate, the faster your retirement savings are going to grow. Finally, the younger you are, you probably want to be invested more heavily in the stock market, because those returns are generally higher than bond returns. And as you age, you want to reallocate your investments and shift it more towards bonds than stocks, because then you're looking for safety. You don't want to find that at the point when you retire, if the stock market has a few bad days or weeks, that you lose a significant amount of your retirement. So that's been the demonstration of the Bankrate Retirement Planner. It's something that is quite useful for you to use to be able to see how you can organize your savings so that you can have a life of financial well-being.